Hiya, welcome to episode 5 of Johnny Talks. The title of this video is Are We Overreacting to Our Weather? Irish weather has turned into Sesame Street as of late. Within the last maybe 10 years or so. Every time heavy rain or heavy winds come to Ireland, they all of a sudden get a name and a colour. Storm Johnny with a red warning. Storm Michael with an orange warning. Next week we're gonna have Storm Callum with a weather warning of red. And you better not leave your house, because if you leave your house, you're gonna die. Well, that's a pretty extreme episode of Sesame Street right there, isn't it? But I'm obviously being sarcastic, but there is an element of seriousness to what I'm saying at the same time. Right now, the latest storm to hit Ireland is Storm Callum, I believe. Now, I can't speak for any other county in Ireland, but I'm living in Cork right now, and I'm looking out my window right now, and what I see is it's raining. It's raining pretty heavy. It's a bit windy. Hello, DLA. How are you, man? How was your wrist today? How are your knuckles today? Welcome to episode 5 of Johnny Talks. I'm talking about Irish weather in particular, so no offence to anybody outside of Ireland, but I'm keeping it specific to Ireland. And I'm asking a question. I'm asking, are we overreacting to our weather? Again, I'm looking at heavy rain and heavy winds. Heavy rain and heavy winds have been a part of my life for as far as I can remember. I'm glad to hear that, DLA. For as far as I can remember, I walked to and back from school in much heavier rain than what I'm looking at right now, and heavier winds, but there was no name attached to it. You know, it wasn't called Storm Billy or Storm Harry, and it didn't have a colour attached to it. And, you know, the school wasn't locked down, and we weren't told, oh, you can't leave the school with the sleeping because of Storm Harry. It's gone crazy. I mean, you have like meetings, like meetings and organisations and clubs and groups. You know, activities across the city are being shut down because of heavy wind and heavy rain. I've never heard of that when I grew up, and I'm not exactly 50, you know, I'm 29, and I've never heard of that type of thing growing up. There was no schools being shut down or activities and clubs and groups being shut down because everybody has to get home safely, because they're gonna die if they don't get home. The wind will get them, the rain will get them. Let me just say, on a serious note, on Mortal Kombat Mobile, there's Jason's challenge. If you do the challenge, you get him, and I spent £20. Oh man, that is actually, no, you didn't waste your money. You were robbed. That's completely wrong on the developer of that game. That's complete robbery. That's microtransactions for you, man. That's terrible. That is terrible. I just want to say that I'm not making a joke out of bad weather. I'm not making a joke out of what bad weather can cause for people and homes across the country. I mean, I'm not making a joke out of that, and I am aware that over the years we have more rain and more wind. But it's still just rain and it's still just wind. Now, if you want to be an idiot and you want to climb trees in heavy winds, then that's your problem. English weather has two sides. It's either really hot and sunny or rainy. Oh man, I wouldn't mind a bit of that. No, I wouldn't mind if it was hot sometimes. Irish weather traditionally is just damp, miserable and wet. But this is the way, this is my point, this is the way it's been for forever. I mean, the people forget they're living in Ireland. You know, the people forget they're living in Ireland. When it rains in Ireland, everyone is like, oh my god, it's raining, we better run home. We're gonna die. It's like, it's Ireland, it rains. Get over it, deal with it. So the question I'm asking is, are we overreacting to our weather? Do we really need to be giving heavy winds and heavy rain a name and a colour every single time? Do we really need to be shutting down schools and organisations and groups and, you know, because we all have to get home safely? You know, do we all have to go into this lockdown, end of the world kind of mentality? Do we really need that? I mean, let's face it, if a real hurricane and a real like tsunami hit Ireland, let's face it, we would be wiped off the face of the earth. I mean, the world wouldn't even notice we're gone. Like, all of a sudden, what happened to Ireland? Damn. I shouldn't be making a joke out of that. But look, I'm not going to be talking about global warming or anything like that. I'm not going to be talking about that. I'm just really asking a question, really. It's a simple question. Are we overreacting to our weather? Do schools really need to be shut down for the safety of kids because of heavy rain and heavy wind? Is that really necessary, or is that OTT? Is that over the top? Do groups, activities, meetings and organisations across the country, do they need to be cancelled or closed up early so people can get home safely because of heavy winds and heavy rain? Is that necessary? Now obviously Storm Ophelia, which I think was possibly the kind of, I don't know, maybe the beginning of naming storms, or when people took notice of the names of storms. But that was pretty hectic. You wouldn't want to be going for a walk in that weather. But at the same time, you shouldn't be climbing trees to do repairs or to be doing any work like that in those type of heavy winds. So I think common sense kind of comes down to it, really. It's like this. I wouldn't run around on a slippery surface because I'd fall and potentially break my neck. Does that mean we all have to, I don't know, go health and safety crazy, and we can no longer mop floors anymore because of health and safety, because somebody would slip and break their neck? But to keep this video specific, I'm actually going to time this. I'm going to keep this 15 minutes. I'm going to keep this to 15 minutes specifically, because this video does not need to be any longer. I'm not here there really isn't much to say on this topic. It's a question really that I'm asking people. I'm asking people, are we overreacting to our weather? Does schools and other groups, clubs and activities and meetings and organisations across the country, even work, college, do all of these places really need to be shut down or closed up early or go into lockdown every time there is rain and wind? Is that necessary, or is that over the top? Are we overreacting? And do we really need to be like naming these storms? What is this about naming these storms? And like, how do we even categorize what a storm is? Like, when I grew up as a child, when there was wind and rain, that wasn't considered a storm. Like, when a storm hit Ireland, you knew about it. You knew there was a storm because we was talking about serious winds and serious rain. Like, what's categorized as a storm now? Every time it rains in Ireland, we're going to give it a name and we're going to call it a storm. I mean, what's that about? The same goes for wind. Every time there's a bit of wind forecast for Ireland, we're going to give it We're going to give it a name, and we're going to give it a colour as well. We're going to give it a colour. Yellow warning, orange warning, red warning. Fight. I mean, what is it? Terrify people? Put fear into people? You know, as if we need any more fear. Fear of losing our home, fear of losing our job, fear of losing our life. I mean, look at the HSE cancer scandal with those, those poor women. I mean, how much fear do we need to be given? Is this more of it? Is this more fear tactics, fear mongering? We can't even leave the house now because there's a red warning, Hurricane Danny, who will kill you if you leave your home. Is that it? I mean, I could go deeper. Is that it? Is it part of an agenda? You know what I mean? Is it a fear agenda? Fear-mongering agenda where it's just one more thing for the public to be fearful of? You know, because fear is power. If you have somebody afraid, then you have them. You have them. You have power over a fearful person. Introduce fear to the world, and you have power over that world. Problem-solution mentality. Introduce a problem, introduce a solution. Is that what it is? Is that what's behind naming rain and naming wind and giving them a colour based off how dangerous they are? Is that what it is? Is it fear mong? Is it to get us all scared? Is that what it is? No, that's just a side question. It's a side question. That's what that is. But the main question is: are we overreacting to our weather in terms of how we react? Which is the word overreact. I mean, like, is it necessary to go into lockdown every time we get, you know, rain and wind? Is it necessary to lock down schools? Send your kids home. Don't send them to school at all every time there's rain and wind. Is that necessary? Is it necessary not to drive to work or drive home from work because of wind and rain? Is that necessary? Do we need to be naming the storms I just can't get? I just don't understand that. And putting them into colours. Categorizing them into colours based off how dangerous they are. I mean, there was nothing dangerous about me walking to school and walking home from school in rain that is much heavier than the rain that I'm looking at right now, and in winds that are much heavier than the winds that I'm looking at right now. There was nothing dangerous about that for me, and it didn't have a name. The rain and the wind didn't have a name back then, didn't have a colour back then. It was just called wind and rain. Tomorrow's weather, rain, wind. We woke up in the morning, we went to school, we came home from school, we went to bed, and you know what? We were still alive. We didn't die. The schools remained opened. They remained open the following day. Life went on. Life went on. You know, that's when I grew up, and I ain't talking about 20 years ago here. I'm talking about, like, you know, I'm talking like 15 years ago. Okay, this isn't the ancient history I'm talking about here, you know. When I went to school, both primary school and secondary school, the weather forecast would be rain and wind, and you would get up in the morning and you would make your way to school, regardless of the weather. The schools would remain open. There was no lockdown. You know, the weather didn't have a name, didn't have a colour. Life went on. And now it's like every time rain is forecast, every time wind is forecast, hey, Storm Callum is here now. It's a category red, and you better not go to school now. And my question is, are we overreacting? Let me know in the comment section below if we are overreacting. Thank you for watching. Big shout out to ProChronicsVlogz, especially ProChronicsVlogz, because I was delighted to see that he transitioned from Green Herb Gaming to Johnny Talks, and I was delighted. Also DLA as well transitioned from Green Herb Gaming to Johnny Talks. The reason I'm putting that out is because it ain't easy for my regular subs to go from seeing me play Mortal Kombat X to, you know, talking about slightly less entertaining stuff, you know. There's nothing entertaining about Johnny Talks. It's just more informative, really, you know, opinion based. So ProChronicsVlogz, DLA, Black Knight Gamer, Mindtex Gaming, Aidan Denniston, all of my regular subs. Big shout out to all of you. Subscribe to those people. Great gaming content. Thank you for watching this episode of Green Herb Gaming, of Johnny Talks. And again, I'll just leave you with the question. I will leave you with the question: are we? I know there's 2 people watching this right now, so you can easily let me know if you think if you think I'm wrong. Let me know. If you think I'm right, let me know. No point just watching and doing nothing. If you have something to say about me, if you're one of those people that talk shit about me but won't say it to my face, now's your opportunity to let me know exactly what you think of me. It's right there in the comment section below. Be a keyboard warrior. Work away. The question I ask is, are we overreacting to our weather? Thanks for watching, and goodbye.